Okay, now I do quite figure when the maintenance company.
Did you ever do it on your own?
Good day.
Sometimes it depends what.
We've been over that quite a bit. When you said you
We were
were
walking
cards,
around the
they
other
did
day.
it several
And
times.
we found a pin in the ground.
Oh, yeah.
They tap on it and
He
they
has it.
Plumbing was the same.
Sutherland, Petcher Shoe, Lajaway,
Oh, yes.
Scott Allen.
Someplace way far away.
Concern they had is that some of those.
What was the third one?
You got Dean Lajaway, you got Mark Petcher Shoe, you got,
I believe it was Slash.
yeah, it could be. Not one I would recommend. We've chased him a couple times and Dan Moore there, so.
I'm gonna bring that up.
Friend of
What you
mine.
got?
I got it. Where is it?
Oh, do you
No
got
idea what you
it?
got.
Oh, I knew business.
Well, the bad
Well,
one.
That's fine.
It's what trade up there.
Yeah,
wherever you wanna bring it.
Well, down the road, 1,600 feet. The state went in, excavated the stuff, and they painted some trees, and so that corner, I know where that corner is. Of course, you know where the road front corner is, going up north.
In the back.
Got it?
Yeah.
The 40 acres, a good chunk.
All right, we're gonna call the meeting order to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call.
Mr. Newton.
Here.
Mr. Parati.
Here.
Mr. Bruno. No. Mr. Facto.
Here.
Mr. Randall.
Here.
Vern is a doctor for storage.
Okay.
Not sure if he'll make it.
Gotcha. Explain that. Okay, all board members have been provided with a copy of the minutes of the last meeting. A motion will be entertained to approve and accept the minutes of the 3/29/22 regular meeting, providing there are no additions or deletions or subtractions. Motion?
Motion?
Mr. Newman?
Second.
Mike beat you to it. Mr. Parati?
Mr. Newton.
Yes.
Mr. Parati.
Yes.
Mr. Facto.
Yes.
Mr. Randall.
Okay, addressees, we have none. I do have a few communications. Okay, this one was sent out to all the towns, the surrounding towns in Clinton County. I'm sure most of you have probably heard that Mr. Douglas, the supervisor for the town of Blackbrook, had a structure fire at his house, and it was a complete loss. So they're going to hold a fundraiser. This is going to be on Saturday, May 7th, 2022. Community members will host a fun-filled fundraiser at the Riverside Park, Route 9, Osable Forks, to benefit the town of Blackbrook. Supervisor John Douglas and his family, who sadly lost their home on April 23rd of 2022 to a structure fire. The event will consist of live auction, Chinese auction, 50-50 raffle, awesome Yeti cooler with cheer raffle, Dogfather food truck will be there for a food vendor, local music favorites, and they got a musician. I could go on and on. They got a lot going on that day. So if anybody would like to help support them, I'm sure they would appreciate the help. Anybody that wants further information, again, you can go on, they have a website in it's a J Community News, and it's posted on their website, okay, or on their newspaper. Also, just to give everybody an update, I had a Zoom meeting yesterday with several supervisors, Carmen from Elise Stephanic's office, and Glenn Cutter from Clinton County. That's in regard to the FEMA floodplain mapping and the appeal process for it. After that Zoom meeting, it was decided that each town should write their own letter of appeal to it. We're gonna incorporate some common language between all of the towns that are trying to appeal this. We have support right now with Billy Jones' office, Senator Stack's office, Elise Stefanik's office, and they want copies of all letters that we're putting in an appeal. I contacted both Wendell Hughes and Rick Potiker, our two county legislators for the town of Scholar Falls. They seem to be in support of it. Also, we're trying to get the county to do a letter of support too at their meeting. So that's all the stuff we're working on. May 17th is a deadline for the appeal process. It has to be into FEMA's office by then. And God knows how it'll turn out, but we're doing our best to appeal that kind of overreach at some of the floodplain areas we thought were really over. It was a real overreach, that it would never reach that far. And some areas that were dedicated or you know, recognized as flood 1A floodplains had never ever been an issue before. So we also talked about COVID and how things kind of got pushed to the side, and that a lot of local governments were dealing with that major issue at the time. So over the last year and a half, that's probably how some of this stuff got, not the information it should have back to the towns, put it that way. So we're working on it. We're still pushing our way through it. We will be putting in an appeal. And like I said, Glenn's office has been awesome at the county level, helping with, instrumentally in getting this process forward. So that's the update on that. Monthly reports. Everybody's seen and looked at the monthly reports. Can I get a motion to file?
Motion.
By
Second.
Mr. Parati. Seconded by Mr. Newton. Roll call.
Mr. Newton?
Yes.
Mr. Parati?
Yes.
Mr. Facto?
Yes.
Mr. Randall?
Yes. Okay, receipts. Tax collector, $11,605.87. Town clerk, $680. Macy Lane Water, $1,686.75. Morrisonville Water, $14,615. Woods Mills Water, $5,975.56. Justice Barber, $3,146. Justice Van Ortwick, $3,205. Cash receipts, $267.90. Newlingen Waste scrap, $1,300. CVPH Medical Center Fitness in the Park, $8,000. This is Complete Streets grant that we got approved for. That stuff will be going in the next probably month. Everything is almost here for materials for that. $45 Syrex LLC Division Court Program, and then $95,034.87 Casella Waste Management System host fees for the first quarter.
Move the receipts.
All right, so a motion made by Mr. Facto
Second.
and Mr. Newland.
How does Casella's first quarter compare to last year? Do we have any idea?
Yeah,
I know we
they're,
do, but
they're, I don't have it right in front of me, but typically we end up with about 500,000 over the 4 quarters.
I just
So-
know the first.
Yeah, and I've had that conversation with him before. He goes, it's hard to say what, to compare one quarter to another, because we don't know the amount of, you know, I hate to say garbage, but garbage that they take in up there, refuge or whatever you want to say. And some of it is on their end too, with the contracts that they have when certain things come in. But I will tell you this, as far as talking to Shane up there, he receives about the same amount of tipping fees back to the town that we've been getting for the last couple of years.
Okay.
So it should be just, again, somewhere around 500,000.
So
So-
Mr. Newton,
Yes.
Mr. Parati,
Yes.
Mr. Facto,
Yes.
Mr. Randall.
Yes. Okay, minutes of the zoning board dated 2/22 of 2022. I'll get a motion to file.
Motion.
Mr. Newland,
Second.
Mr. Facto.
Mr. Newton?
Yes.
Mr. Parati,
Yes.
Mr. Facto?
Yes.
Mr. Randall.
Yes. All right, department reports, Councilman?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things. One thing in terms of the new website, there's a good mention of the youth and where people can sign up, and that's very good. However, there's nothing at all on there for senior citizens at all. There's nothing for any activity. And I know last year there was, in their budget, there was only $1,700 put in that budget last year. And I think with the funding coming in the town now, I think we ought to take a serious look on expanding that program and developing some activities for senior citizens. Now, the youth programs, they're, I mean, quite a few thousand in that. But I just think we ought to, as a board, maybe at a work session, we could take a look at that, possibly, and maybe setting up some kind of a program. I know Vern is on the committee. He's absent tonight, but
Right.
maybe the next work session, we could throw it on the agenda, possibly.
Sure. The Senior Citizens Committee has been kind of on hold since COVID hit. They haven't met since that whole debacle transformed. The money was still kept in the budget this year, and as it was last year, for them to meet if they decide to. I know that they had a few restructuring things that they wanted to do on the Senior Citizens Committee as far as who is president and secretary and all that. But normally, because they had their own committee, they would bring back to us what they would like to do as a community, but it doesn't hurt for us to look at it also.
Sure. Okay, and
Before we finish on that, Rich, would we be able to get and request from them their list of ideas that they want to do, just so we know which way to go?
wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah, that's yours, Brian, right? So yeah, if you want to bring something back on that,
Okay.
we're on your committee.
Okay. And my last item, and this isn't a pleasant item for me to bring up. I want to let you know that. I received an email from Mr. Donut. It's regarding his removal from this building by law enforcement. And the email was sent to me, and as a town board member, he asked me to bring this up, so I'm doing that. And I'd like to read it into the record, into the minutes. I'd like to, first of all, give a copy out to town board members. And it's his request,
Yep,
and I'm trying to do my job here. He wants this into the minutes of the meeting, and he wants me, as an elected official, to read it into the minutes. And I would like to do that unless someone tells me not to.
I don't want to put Mr. McCormick right on the spot, but if this is going to be a legal issue, I don't feel that it should be discussed in an open meeting by any board member in here.
Okay, could I move that we go into executive session to discuss this?
You can do that. And then
Maybe
at
we
least
could
you'll
do
have
it.
time to kind of get brought up to speed on what's going on before you get put on the record to do it.
Sure.
Maybe-
Appreciate that.
Okay, so what, you're going into executive session because it's a legal matter? Because other than that, you probably can't go into
That's
executive
what I want to
session
know,
about
is if
it.
it would be, I mean, he,
Well, it sounds like it might be a legal matter.
Should I pass this to the board?
Sure.
Well, Kevin,
It doesn't fall under your 7 categories.
I understand. Okay.
well, if it's going to, if he's pushing it to legal counsel, it would automatically not be something that we would bring up in here, not that the attorney would be involved.
This was part of it, well, Kevin. Whoop. There you go.
I didn't get one.
What did you get?
Second one. Do you have another copy of the second one, Rich?
Yes. Yeah. Here you go. There you go.
This would clearly be an executive session.
What's that?
I said this would clearly be an executive session.
Yeah.
And no, just so everybody's aware in the room, if anything, one of the circumstances that we would go into executive session would be a personnel issue that we were handling, okay? At that point, we go into executive session. Any decisions that were, if a decision was made in that executive session, we would come back out here, we would put it on the record, and then it will be part of the record. If no determination or decision is made while we're in there, and we're going to look at it further, then again, we will come back out on the record and state that also. That it's being looked at and that there will be further discussion on it. Okay.
Just, Kevin, could I ask this? Is there any way we could have the executive session at the completion of the meeting so we could proceed with the meeting, the other business?
Well, you're the one
Possibly.
that asked to
Yeah.
go to executive session right now.
Okay, but
So if you want to wait till after, and retract that until later on, after
Yeah.
we've gone through all the business?
yeah,
And do it then?
for
I
the
don't have a
convenience of
problem
the
with that,
audience more than.
Anybody else on the board have a problem with the retraction?
No.
So is that how we would word that in the minutes, that he retracted?
I don't, it wasn't seconded, so we don't have
Okay.
to act on it yet. You just make a motion at the end to go into.
Face it,
Yeah,
wait until then and do it.
yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Fair enough. So in other words, everything will go on the record for the majority of it, what we decide on it. Nothing else, Councilman?
But can I ask you, Mike, I can't put this in the minutes because it's a name.
Right, yeah, I don't think that this is gonna, yeah. Yeah, it doesn't go in the minutes yet. We'll talk about that
In
in the executive session.
Sure. Anything else?
No, thanks. No.
Okay. Anything else from any of the other councilmen?
You can bring the other part up later, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's it.
Okay. Highway, Michael?
Yep.
Well, we started sweeping a couple weeks ago. We've been working on the machinery also, and we're getting ready to go back out and start sweeping again, the roadsides, and we got this pretty good storm here. So we had to go out and do some pretty,
Well, 8 inches of it,
pretty
right?
serious, yeah, pretty heavy storm. So we got through that, so we're back out sweeping roadsides again. And I've been working on purchasing a newer sander with a plow truck from another town. So that's in the process right now, and along with continue sweeping the roadsides.
And you got me, which I'll bring up in my discussion, you have some,
For the highway, for the paving?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, and I've got some paperwork in for the paving of some different roads. And that's in the process also.
water?
I just read my email before I came out. The annual quality report has been done by the town of Plattsburgh for all districts, so it's on the website, where you can click on and get to their, where it is, or if anybody wants a copy, there'll be copies here.
Codes, he's not here tonight, but I do have something on codes that I just got on my email. Just completed the ISO audit, which is basically his report card on how he's performing his job for codes enforcement. We ended up with, don't quote me, a 78, I think, point something, which puts us as a 3. Scale of 1 to 10 is what ISO rates, just like they do the fire service. 10 being the absolute worst, 1 being the absolute best. So we're number 3. That's actually really good for Class B town. So it was a good report card on that regard. I will have a copy of that for all the councilmen. So they have that report card, so to speak, to myself. ISO has no legal bearing. They're not regulatory, but what they do is they work for all the insurance companies, combined lobbyists, to make sure that you're performing. They give a report card to each entity. Like I say, it doesn't have any regulation, they can't enforce anything, they have no powers of enforcement. But it does make a difference if somebody's going to want to build something in your town. It becomes an even larger issue if it's a company, a corporation trying to build, because the better that ISO rating, the less it is for insurance. Same as the fire department. The better your ISO rating for your insurance, the cheaper your homeowner's insurance are. So those things play in to the township very, very important. They weigh in. So we're doing good on that respect. Town clerk, I know you did the water also, but no. Assessor, Gary's not here tonight. We're still throwing some stuff back and forth on a few things at the assessor's office. We looked at, or we had talked about doing a reassessment for next year, which would probably mean he'd be starting in August, September, if I'm not mistaken. We have not did assessed value update over the last going on 3 years now, due to the volatility of the market right now, and homes are going for much more than, are selling for much more than really what they normally would have been, and we're waiting to see if that would correct itself. So we're hoping that is the case. But I did get kind of a nasty gram back from the county that we were one of 2 towns that were at 100% assessment. We were at 95. It really, I asked in that email how it affected. She said it affects the STAR program, and it affects the veterans that get credits. And when I discussed it with Gary, he took a couple examples and showed me that by the time we reassessed them at 100%, and then you still gave them their deductions on either the STAR program or the veterans credits, they would have paid a lot more money because the assessed values went up so much. It didn't offset. So her, won't get into that's a separate subject, but the math didn't really add up from the county. But they do this. They're getting pushed from the state. The counties are getting pushed from the state, and we're kind of getting pushed from the town, but we haven't. We've been pushing back. Put it that way. They want as much assessed value as they can naturally for tax values at the county and the state. So we're right. If you look at it, and you can look them up, we're right with everybody else that's had 3 assessed values as far as the percentage. But, we haven't seen where it would be advantageous for our constituents to do that. All right, that's the assessor, planning board, right here, dog control. I know he was in and dropped off his report. Attorney, anything?
I don't have anything then, no?
Okay. I'll let you go before I start my
Okay.
spiel. Story?
Yep, just real quick, things are starting to perk up now that it's springtime. I've got a clipboard here with some places you can sign up for a variety of things. Starting this Friday, there's a sign up that if you want, anybody wants to help clean historic markers. Ours are pretty good in this town. This is a National Historic Marker Day, the 4th Friday in April. So designated officially by the foundation in Syracuse that actually funded 2 of our historic markers. But it's just good to go out and clean the markers with soap and water once a year. So I've got all the equipment. If anybody wants to sign up and do it kind of on their own time or come Friday morning at 9, that's fine too, and then we can go out. We're just past the 174th anniversary of the town, so the 175th anniversary is next year in April, but we're looking like they did with the 150th, doing something in the summertime. If anybody wants to work on a team to kind of plan out what we do for the 175th anniversary, looking for volunteers. We're going to have a tour of Schuyler Falls sponsored by Arch, the Adirondack Architectural Heritage, kind of building on the historic reconnaissance survey of all the historic resources in Schuyler Falls. That's going to be June 9th, so I'm working on that to get people that will open their homes to, but some open and some just visible from the outside. So the Arch is getting applications now for people that want to attend this tour. What they do is, since they get so many people that want to go on the different tours, they do it by lottery. So I've got some of the order forms if you're interested in any of the tours from Arch. You need to turn in your paperwork by mid-May. And then they do a lottery. If more than the number of people that can go on any tour want to go on, then you get pulled out, by a lottery as to who makes it in. And there is also a cemetery stone cleaning workshop sponsored by the DAR on a Saturday in June. I think it's June 11th. So I've got some information on that on a flyer. So I'll leave all this here, or you can see me afterwards if you're interested in any of those, or anybody wants to volunteer to help in the historian's office. And it's just exciting and busy, as well as just the normal people calling. Somebody wanted to know about what about Carolyn Felton Road. So we checked a bunch of different things and hopefully helped her a little bit on her search for her ancestor. That's it.
You reminded me of one thing that I will tell you this, I give so much work to the historian that's really not part of her job duties that she willingly takes over and helps with. One of the other things we just discussed last week was cleanup day.
Oh yeah.
For the town.
Yeah, and I've left messages. I should have mentioned that to you. I haven't heard back. We're trying to schedule a cleanup day so that in conjunction with Casella, they'd provide bags, or we'd get some volunteers to go out and clean up the roadsides. We're trying to look for a Saturday, kind of like we did about 3 years ago. It may be in May, or maybe later in June, so be ready for that. And it'll be fun. Last time they passed out T-shirts and things like that. But if anybody wants to do cleanup now, just, I mean, feel free to go out by your own home and pick up the trash. It's,
But this will be more like a community one. We usually
Absolutely.
start right here.
Is there any way we can get bags to do something like that?
yeah, certainly when it's the official time, yes. That's what they did before, and I've checked some other places that, you know, they get donations like from Lowe's and things like that. But yeah,
And,
there'd
I've
be some-
spoken with Sean up at Casella's. They're more than supportive, and even asked if he wouldn't mind having a vehicle so that we could.
Well, we got quite a dip there, and there's always stuff up on Mason Street right here. Always.
Yeah.
So COVID the last couple of years kind of put all this stuff on hold, but we're trying to get back, you know, to the community and try to get people involved. So they've been. He said, "I'll support you 100%." Matter of fact, he said that he would help with some of the supplies. I think they donated T-shirts, if I'm remembering correctly. I think we got quite a few of them left, maybe in that shed out there somewhere. Sam, in boxes, but if we need to get new ones, we can always do that too. But usually, because of the fact that you're on the roadways, we like the high visibility yellow or lemon or whatever you want to call that color. So we usually hand out the shirts so that everybody's kind of visible. It's a good community project, and everybody takes a little ownership of it that way.
Yeah, and we try to cover as many of the streets as we possibly can. I know, just like you said, the
Help willing. The help willing.
help willing and the weather willing
And
too.
the weather,
Because
yeah.
we won't, hopefully we won't have snow.
We'll
by
try
the
to-
time it happens.
Try to get a forecast of it.
We're gonna bring that up.
Just trying to get a date.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, that's enough.
All right, I
Thank
think
you.
so too.
Here's the paper.
Alrighty. Alright, supervisor time. So, our last work session, we did meet with Solar and Earth. Basically, I'm gonna hand these out. I'll give everybody a little. Thank you. You hand that to Donna so she has some idea what we're talking about. So, I'll kind of go through this with you. Apologize to the people out there, we don't have a overhead, and that's something we probably should work on, is a PowerPoint projected. So basically this first page is telling us what we would have in savings on the lighting accounts only. Okay, so that very first page. The second page is all other lighting bills that we have in the town. Leo had told me, he goes, what I did, I handed him through Mary. He got her to give me all the lighting bills from last month. So he took that as a projection out 12 months. Now everybody that knows that they pay a light bill, that they can differ a little bit from month to month. So he goes, I just want that understood, that I use that month's record. It could go up a little bit, it could go down a little bit on your savings, because it was, he didn't have a full 12 months of receipts, or billing period. But he can do that also for us. But just from what I'm looking at right now, if the lighting, the only reason you had a question on the lighting is a couple of the lightings are really tiny. Like we got one bill here for $8.64. I'm gonna guess that's probably the three lights we got at the gazebo down at the park in River Street, so it's a real small one. He goes, sometimes they don't like to add in those small bills because it's not really, you know, it's not really worth their time. But he goes, if we got all of the lighting in there, we would see a savings of approximately $1,983.21. That's the first page. The second page is all other lighting. That's the town, that's the highway garage, all that stuff. If you look at those, saving by going to solar is $1,355.06. Now, this is something that I don't read electric bills all that well. I don't know how many people do, but he found when he was looking at ours, I won't mention the company's name, but our provider of electricity in some of these accounts is, like, I'm probably gonna screw this up, maybe 10 cents a kilowatt, where it's usually like 11 cents, right now the average is about 7 cents a kilowatt. So if you look at the total at the top where it says, total saved by switching supply, if we also switch the supplier of it, we could see a savings of $1,541.91 there. So when you add those two together, that's where he comes up with a total estimate of savings of $2,896.97. So we would probably have to do a resolution to pass as supply, whoever our supplier is. I told you I'd get back to you on this, so if you want to take a look at these and let me know so that we can get some resolutions together to do a switch of supplier, and if we are gonna move forward, but I really would like, because he's called me twice already, to have the board's feeling on if you feel like, as far as I'm concerned, it looks like there's quite a bit of savings here. I'm willing to go forward with it, and that's what I'll tell him to.
Are there other companies? I'm sure there is that do the same thing they do, right?
Oh, I'm sure, Mr. Parati, I'm sure that there's different ones. Matter of fact, a couple of the solar projects that they're looking at in town, that was one of the things when I met with them, they said that they would offer a 10% off your bill. Of course, they didn't get into, friends that got it like he did, as far as looking at who carries our electricity and helping us with savings there too. I guess if you're looking at who would administrate it for us, or who we go under if we go with solar power, so to speak. So we'll buy our power from solar. I don't think the name would be the only thing that would change. I don't think the numbers would change, because it's 10% no matter how you figure it. That's what they do it, is on basically 10% savings. Like he explained that night during the work session also, everybody pays, if you're not on solar, everybody pays a surcharge to solar, to help out with the switch.
That would be
And
absurd.
remember, he said that kind of goes away too once you go on solar. But I'm willing to let him know to come up with a contract and bring it back to us if you guys are willing to entertain it. If you're not, let me know now, and next time I know he's gonna call me tomorrow. I'll let him know that we're not interested in yet. So what's
I'm happy with
consensus?
it. We're talking about this one right here, right? Just,
Yeah, I'm sorry, I explained
That's
the
fine.
grid as it goes across, but yeah.
Is there any downside to this anywhere that you know?
Not that I'm aware of, Mike. The only thing I was worried about was when Texas went into deep freeze there, and they had people that were buying power from Clean Green Energy, and the windmills got shut down, and they ended up having to go back to fossil fuel to supplies to make up the difference of the loss of power on the Clean Green side. They got hit with some pretty astronomical bills, and I think everybody remembers that in the news. He said that does not happen here. He goes, if I remember right, he said your credits may go down if they're not producing as much as they think they will,
Right.
but it doesn't affect your rates.
It goes
It
back
just,
where you were.
it affects how much your
Yeah,
discount would be.
Texas is a complete anomaly, because they have their own grid,
Yes.
and they set it up so that there's a certain cost, and you agree in your contract that if there are fewer users, there's higher costs.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
So
Some
when,
of the bills were-
when the power grid went out for the majority of people, the few people who still had power had to pay for all of it, theoretically. So,
But
yeah,
that was my concern. I was like, I don't want to get looped or roped into something where it's gonna go really crazy.
they also have a tiny percentage on wind power and solar power. They didn't really have.
Now, what is this, a 10-year commitment?
Yes, it
It's
is
a
a
long
10-year,
time.
it's a 10-year
It's a long
commitment. The other thing is though, because we're single billing, and we looked at that, remember if we were double billing, I think it was a 10-year. It's being that we're single billing, he did tell me that we could switch within 90 days. So we would be the same as a resident. Because we wouldn't send a double bill, one to NICEAG, one to them. We'd do a single bill to Solar on Earth, and then whatever that bill was that was owed to NICEAG, they would then send to them. So that would put us on a 90-day notice. If we wanted to get out of it, then it would take 90 days, and then we would be done with it. So it's not. It is guaranteed 10 years for 10%.
Well, with NICEX, they just replaced a bunch of lights for us, right?
Oh, you mean the streetlights?
Yeah.
Yep. I'll contact. It's a good question. I don't think that affects that, but it's never a bad idea to check. So I'll check with Troy Tremblay, with my contact at NICEC, to make sure that there's nothing in there that would be, deterrent on that end of things. That whole thing was like $6,000 to change those all over to LED. We've changed all these over. We got a grant to do these in the garage, so that really wasn't part of that. But all the lighting district for the street lights were changed through NICEC. And basically what we did is we paid a little over $6,000 for the remainder of the lifespan of the old Cobra head bulbs, and what they figured that was worth. So I don't think that part changes. And again, that's part of the lighting accounts, which he's not sure whether they would be able to do. They definitely would do this one, but that's what I was saying. Yes, he would have to check into it.
Kevin, based on that, would it be a problem to table it for 30 days? This issue right here at all?
Do you want me to tell him that we're gonna wait 30 days, or like I said, what you can do is let me know in a couple days, so that I know what direction to go, and then what we'll do is do a resolution in the May meeting, and it would be all done.
Oh, okay.
But what I need is a contract from him to say exactly what everything is. This is just a projection so that we can look at it to make a decision whether we want to go forward with it, and he's not spinning his wheels, or whether we're seriously about looking into it and signing up. So I'm not asking you to make this decision tonight because we don't have a resolution for it. But I just wanted to get back to the board on what he came up with, and it's quite a bit of savings.
Okay.
Is he gonna take care of the second party changing back to the original party? Switching that back? That's what he's talking about, right?
That, from what I understand, and what Mr. Newton's talking about, is the carrier. And they're not the carrier for all of our electricity, but they are a carrier for some of the accounts. And he said by changing that carrier, we could save on what we get charged per kilowatt.
Yeah.
And like I say, they're charging 10 cents a kilowatt, and the average that he's come up with is about 7 cents a kilowatt. So when you're talking as much power as the town uses, that can add up to some significant
That's that one, right?
saving. Yeah,
15,
it's almost as much as what
20.
the solar is itself.
It's more.
Yeah. So
But is he gonna do that for us, or do we have to do that on our own?
what I would do is, I'm sure he would work with us to get that done, but I think I don't think he can do that for us. I think the town has to make that by a resolution to change that code. But that's something that I get back to you guys. Like I say, if you guys are interested, I'll keep working on that, and we'll try to get a resolution to do everything we need to do by May.
I would just say that, are they giving you a locked-in rate for 10 years? Or?
10% for 10 years.
Okay. But I know like this other supplier, when they originally came here, it was a big savings.
And then it went up.
Yeah. So it's like you have to keep on top of these.
Yeah, like I said, the 10% is locked in right now, and that's pretty much standard through the feds and the state. 10% discount if you claim that you want to get your power from solar. And basically, what they do is they're all solar, not wind farm, but, basically what he's doing is, he works for a bunch of different companies that own solar farms, and he's just trying to basically, drum up business for them and offer the savings back to whoever he can. So, yeah, he's getting paid by solar farms that they represent to make sure that a portion of that electric grid that they're making has a market. And in doing so, they will give you 10% off of your bills for 10 years. The credits, as I say, depending on how much they produce, may go up or down. That's why he said, yeah, I can't guarantee these numbers, but they should be pretty close.
Yeah.
Somewhere within that reason. No, good question.
Isn't most of our power from NICEAG through the hydroelectric dams that they have anyway?
You would think.
Because then all the wind power you're talking about gets shipped over to Vermont through the Cumberland Head line. So I don't know what wind power you'd be getting. That's why I'm a little confused on this, because I don't see how a supplier can supply you with power cheaper than NICEAG can when they own the dams and create the power, send it through our lines to New York City. And then the other question would be, they're talking about this Trans-Canada line to run through the lake. Is that going to affect your power as well when they run that Trans-Canada line down through Lake Champlain to New York City?
That is a transmission line, I believe, and I don't believe any of that power is coming here locally. I think it's just going through here. And
It's not coming
the
from
town
here, though, is what I'm saying.
The town of Beekmantown is the one that's gonna.
Well, it's not Beekmantown, it's Altona, Beekmantown, all those wind farms out there.
But the
Ellenberg,
biggest-
I mean,
The biggest one that's gonna.
but those all go to Vermont. None of it comes here.
Right. What I'm trying to explain to you is where we have a Casella landfill, their biggest money revenue from franchising is gonna be that electric line going through. It doesn't go through our town, unfortunately, but yeah, that's.
Right, but we're not gonna benefit from their power, that's where I'm a little confused on that.
You will not.
Credits.
So I don't understand why we wanna change from, NICEAG is the supplier that supplies the hydroelectric is our power. That's where I'm a little confused on that part, because it runs.
It's not.
Well, then you
the
end up
power
paying, a supplier and you end up paying NICEAG, because you still end up paying NICEAG because they're creating the power and they own the poles. So you end up paying the supplier and you're paying NICEAG, so you're paying two parties instead of one. That's what your plan is.
Everybody, okay, hang on, listen.
Confused. I'm sorry.
Okay, everybody pays for transmission of electricity in their light bill. And that is going to be NICEAG. I don't care who you have, because they own the wires and they own the poles, all right? Your power can be purchased from multiple different agencies out there, Jason. So we don't buy, even though, NICEAG may be your main. You would think that the dam, we have 3 dams, right? From Saranac to Cadeville,
there's like 8
the one
dams
right
on the
here in
whole
the
place, but
Falls
yeah,
Road.
there's 3 in this town.
And most of that is sold back to the grid, okay? Because NICEAG still charges what they can by what they sell it for on the market when it gets sold back to the grid. Because I've talked to NICEAG as the fire chief, and when one of the transformers goes down over here, we lose quite a bit of power around here, even though they say it's all sent back down there. So.
Right, but I don't want to be buying power from Buffalo when you could be buying power from NICEAG that's local, rather than Niagara Mohawk, because that's kind of
Right,
like.
but the only thing that we're doing is we're saying that we'll buy power from solar. That's where the state and the feds have all of the incentives right now. And right now, we're paying, did he say 5%? I don't want to misspeak, but I think he said 5%. If you look at your electric bill, you're paying 5% if you are not buying solar anyways. So basically, they give you another 5% on that, guarantee you a 10% reduction in whatever your bill is for signing on with them, and they guarantee it for 10 years. But that's pretty much ate up by the subsidies and not having to pay the 5% that the state and the feds are trying to get everybody to pay for, to switch everybody to green energy. So it's like a,
I think it'd be smarter to take your money and invest it in a solar field over here and run it back into the grid and make money off it that way. If that's what you want to do. Because you got plenty of land, you could do it in Salmon River Road, you could do it anywhere around here, you could run it back into the grid. And you
Right.
could make money off that, that's what you want to invest in, is green energy. Keep it local, keep it here, because there aren't any solar fields here.
there are all kinds of solar fields starting up
Where's
there.
the closest one?
There's one they're building in Peru right now. And there are three.
It's not
in this-
active,
Huh?
it's not active.
They're going through the
Right.
paperwork right now. Okay? I mean, I'm not here to argue.
I'm not, I'm just
I'm
trying to
just
clarify
giving
the
this
fact that I
facts.
wouldn't be buying
We have three.
paying an extra supplier to give
Right,
us.
we have three that are looking at building them in this township. But this has nothing to do with that. This is,
I'm sure you could cut your whole cost of this building by putting solar panels right over there in the field and it'd be
like,
no power bill.
again, but that's a topic of another
I know a
day.
lot of towns that do that, that's all, I'm just suggesting, I know a lot of towns
I
that do
mean, we
that.
would have to.
North Hudson is one
We
of
would
them.
have to spend a lot of money to build your own solar farm.
Well, North Hudson, they don't make a lot of money, they've got a beautiful one there and it's a beautiful array that powers their whole town offices and their fire department, everything, so.
There's some stuff on, in the works that I can't even.
Just a
discuss right now,
suggestion, I mean, other than trying to pay another supplier.
but We're not paying another supplier. They're just, all you're doing is saying that you're gonna buy solar. Your energy will.
But you don't know what the
come
rate,
from solar.
you're saying you're gonna be locked into a rate, but you can't guarantee that, but okay, I understand.
Well, the contract says that we're locked in at 10% off for 10 years. And we can get out of it in 90 days. And that was the, like he said, your point.
Okay, we can
He
move on,
said that,
that's fine.
well, now you wanna cut me off.
No,
So,
I
to your
understand,
point-
I understand your point, I mean, that's
Just so
fine.
you're aware, to your point, he goes, the only thing that would make sense to ever get out in that 90-day period is exactly what you're saying. If you decide to put up a $1.5 million solar panel,
get tax breaks
then
and
he
government
goes, you
rebates for
don't
it, so."
need our 10%, you're gonna be your own end. But this is a zero-sum investment on our side to save money. It doesn't cost
If
us
you're getting
anything.
income from Casellas, you could invest that toward the town and create money, more income for yourself, that's just smart thinking, I would think, but. Okay, we can move on. Sorry.
Appreciate that. All right. Okay, highway agreement. This is, yours. Howard. There's Vern. Pop into one now.
Hi, Dad.
Pretty much boilerplate.
All right, so what you have in front of you, agreement to spend highway monies. Highway law requires us to come up with an agreement with the highway superintendent, the town board on, what roads he will spend the CHIPS money on in the town. So what you're gonna see in front of you after that first page of the highway law is going to